I was just like grabbing on tight to my little Fantastic Four family.
What was the rest of the question?
The little kid in me is like, oh my God.
Oh, spoilers, scary.
Famous around the world, please welcome the Fantastic Four.
So happy to sit across from all four of you. You were amazing. The acting in this was above and beyond. And I wanted to start off talking to Pedro. I read that Reed is going to be essentially leading the Avengers in future MCU projects. What does that mean to you as an actor to take on that responsibility? And how do you imagine that Reed will take that on, given that we see him have a lot of responsibility, but guilt and anxiety at the same time throughout this project?
Well, it's big news to me, for one. I think Matt Shakman was doing an interview, and when he was speaking about Reed, there is something that happens within the comics that he sort of what do you call it? Not commissioned, but drawn in by the Avengers family and asked to be put in a leadership position. But it is something that happens in the comics. It isn't necessarily something that my character's future entails. What was the rest of the question? And I'm being honest in that. It's like I'm not even trying to like avoid spoilers. I'm just saying it's a little bit of a, what do you call it? A mislead? Yeah.
Well, that's good to know, right? Because I know the fans are like, wait, so is he going to be at the front and center of Doomsday? What's going to happen? And the second part of that was, how do you imagine Reed would kind of react to that, given that he's already kind of carrying the weight of this family?
You know, I think that there's an aspect to, there's contradictory aspects to the character where if he understands the equation of something or is so committed to problem solving, then of course he will want everyone to listen. But he isn't terribly comfortable being put in a position of leadership unless it is the pragmatic solution to getting the right thing done. I think he's a pretty private person. And I think he gets quite shy around people. He's more comfortable around his lab, and he has his family to bring him out of his shell. So that's my read.
It was really cool to see just the emotional undertones that all of your characters took throughout this. And Vanessa, I wanted to ask you, I read that you brought in a little bit of malice, one of Sue's iterations into this. What were some of those characteristics that you said, I want to take this essentially darker side of her and add a little bits and pieces into this version?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been really excited about Malice, and I loved it. Even the costumes look fun. But I think, I don't know, it made so much sense for me with Sue when I read her history in the comics, because she chooses to do inherently very altruistic, very loving things. She's a loving mother, she's a loving wife and sister and friend, and she has a very like shiny energy, I always felt. And then when I got to Malice and her transformation, it just made so much sense that of course we're all many things, we're all the opposites all the time, and I was excited by the idea that it's a choice. You don't have a human who's just like a pure, do-gooder. Do you know what I mean? That there's a choice you make choices to do that, I think. And that's a beautiful choice. But I always loved, there was originally a line in the script that said something like, I could easily give you an aneurysm in a second. And she could do that with her force fields. I mean, she could be the most lethal. She could kill many, many people really, really quickly. And they come back from space, this family, and they decide not to use their powers for something destructive, like we've seen in lots of different myths and things, but something good. And she creates this future foundation where she gets the entire global population to de-arm and put down their armies. And I was imagining what a hard thing to persuade people to do in our world. And the fact that she accomplished it is like a very strident, very active thing. So with Malice, I was excited that these tones of, while promoting, you know, only light, that she would have these moments where the Silver Surfer comes to steal her baby. You're going to see Malice, or if she's fighting an enemy at the end of the movie, you know that you're going to see that flavour. And I'm excited in the coming things, if we get to do more, to explore that side of her more. I think it's really fun.
Well, we're going to see definitely a lot more with all of you. And then to wrap up, Ebon and Joseph, I wanted to ask, stepping into Avengers Doomsday, how much did kind of solidifying this family here in this last film prepare you all once you went into filming for this bigger project with MCU universe heroes past and present?
I mean, I don't want to speak for anyone, but certainly like walking into this very big movie of Avengers Doomsday, I was just like grabbing on tight to my little Fantastic Four family because it can be quite overwhelming. It's a huge set with incredible actors who've been doing it for a long time, and it's nice to have, you know, my homies with me.
Yeah. Well, they were quite contrasting experiences. I think that we had the solace of the other 3 actors on Fantastic Four, and it felt very contained, and the fact that we were all new to it, that made for it to feel, it just felt like a very personal and a special experience. Not to say that Avengers isn't a special experience, but it's just, you're dealing with seasoned professionals that have been doing this for ages. So it's very kind of, it's encouraging and reassuring to kind of know these characters. I've seen Thor in films, I've seen lots of people who maybe I can't mention in films, and to be alongside them is very exciting. Oh, spoilers, scary.
I herald your end. I herald Galactus.
Congratulations to both of you. Honestly, iconic villains through and through. And I wanted to start off with you, Ralph, and ask you, you already are so known for having an iconic voice in so many of your roles, but what did you do to really nail Galactus's voice and say, these are the inflections I'm going to use, this is the way I'm going to differentiate him from other Marvel villains, but also from any past work I've done as well?
Yeah, it was strange. I kind of found the voice slightly by accident whilst I was kind of working on the physical side of it, trying to imagine the size of Galactus and get my breath going and all this kind of thing, to open my chest out. And I found a kind of growl and a rasp in my voice that's kind of always there, and I've used occasionally for video game work, for little bits and bobs, but it's kind of like a deeper gear of my voice that I've never used as much before. So it was great. So trying to imagine huge amounts of air and breath coming up to make this noise rather than making the noise with the mouth. Yeah. So it's everything comes off the back of a kind of like a growl. And it takes a lot of air to make the voice. So
you had me scared. I was like, oh, Devour the World, thank God this is a film and not real, because I was truly terrified. It was such a beautiful, beautiful performance. And Julia, you stepped into motion capture for the first time with Silver Surfer. Talk to me about what you felt that you learned that is a skill or that you'll take and put in your toolbox for future performances, regardless if it's on camera or through motion capture animated.
The preparation is almost the same for, I don't want to say the same, it's different, but you have to prep like it's any other movie. You don't want to rely on everything that it's like, oh, we're going to do this all in post. But if anything, you actually have to kind of prep and also be open to anything more, because it's not in front of you. There's no props. Unless if I was on a set, but sometimes I was acting, in front of a green screen or different things. So you have to kind of do the prep work like you would do for another project, but you have to be open in a different way that you wouldn't necessarily be open to changes and all these things for something else. Yeah.
I feel like it always pulls the even above and beyond great versions of an actor, having to be in those CGI worlds, have this suit on. And what was your first reaction to seeing yourself as a Silver Surfer once, you know, everything went through post and you were able to see that end product?
I mean, I had, like, Matt showed me a bit of, like, an idea, but once I finally saw it, I thought it was, I was like, oh my God, I've never looked so cool in my life. That's what I thought. I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I was very excited. I wish I looked that cool every day.
You do. No, I mean, listen, the outfit now, no, but Silver Surfer was amazing. I know fans use the I Herald Galactus intro. They have turned it into an entire thing on TikTok that has been super cool to see. Just the love that people already have for this character. You also learned an alien language for this role as well, right?
Zinlavian, those days were really funny. Sometimes I would be like, God, why am I getting last minute Zinlavian lines? But no, I had a lot of fun.
And then, Ralph, I also read that through this character, you were thrown into a really intense costuming process where you had to have an entire team around you at all times. What was it about that costume that really solidified Galactus for you, whether it was the helmet or the suit that made you say, oh, okay, there's no going back, this is me now?
Yeah, I mean, so much of it, every piece of it is impressive. It looks incredible on the screen, blown up to, you know, massive sizes. Yeah, and I love everything about the suit, and it really does make you feel like you are 1,000 foot tall. It, you know, really adds to what's going on in your head. But I think my favourite bit was the gloves. The huge things, but every joint of the finger articulates. You know, I don't know what the equivalent in baseball is, but in cricket, I could ball off spin. I could spin the ball. I don't know if like a curveball, is that the equivalent in baseball? But I could do something with that glove on and throw a baseball accurately. It was that wearable and that usable. That it was hot and it was heavy, and it was hard work, and I needed a lot of people to help me do it. But it was, you know, very wearable, and I could really do my job in it.
I love that the gloves are that final piece where you were like, oh, okay, here we are. And then was it shot in terms of, I know the character was blown up in size for a lot of those city scenes. Was it almost like a miniature set that you were on, or was it, how did they do that?
I mean, a lot of it was because the character has to be shot as a miniature, so you can then blow the image up and it'll stay in focus with lots of light, so you can blow the image up and it stays in focus. So a lot of my stuff was on a bright white set with lots of light, so they could then use that. Rather than, unfortunately, I mean, I didn't go around and smash up a miniature New York, unfortunately.
The little kid in me is like, oh my God, I'm shooting the Fantastic Four, this movie, in Pinewood. It was just really, really magical, and yeah, it was a dream.